Okay, after a couple false starts, going live here, Steve August Coaching. Getting into these live things right now, and we're in the midst of crisis in the sense of we're all locked down, and the world is kind of come to a halt. We don't know how long it's gonna last. We know it's going to be weeks, if not months, and so one of the things that I want to talk about is like a really powerful question to ask in the midst of a crisis, in the midst of a challenge. And this goes whether you're leading a business or is something in your personal life. It's something that's just really empowering. Because one of the things that is challenging with crisis, whether it takes the form of what we're dealing with right now, or if it's something that happened in your business or something happened in your life, one of the things one of the feelings that happens is this sense of lack of control, or this things are happening to us. And in a sense, there is that. There are things outside of our control. Most of everything is outside of our control. And, sometimes it's these challenges and crises that really strips that self-illusion of having control, or greater control than we imagine. So one of the questions I love to ask or help people through in terms of crisis is this question of, if we look back a year from now, and we look back and the event that we're going through, or the crisis or the challenge that we hit, actually proved to be one of the best things that happened to us, what would have had to happen to make that statement true? So let's think about this. If a year from now, or 6 months from now, or 9 months from now, pick a time period, we look back on what's going on right now in the midst of this challenge, and we're looking back and saying, hey, that was actually a really amazing thing that happened because it enabled us to make some sort of leap, to face up to some sort of situation or some sort of questions, then that can be really powerful. And here's why that's super powerful. One, when you're in the situation, when you're in the crisis, you really feel like you're in it. And it's important, one of the most important things you can do is project into the future and get out of the current situation. And this question, if we look back a year from now, does a really good job of that. It helps you kind of project out and say, okay, this is not a permanent situation. It feels like it's all around us right now, but it's not permanent. That there is going to be a time when we look back on this. So it gets us out of that thinking. The second part of the question is, what would have had to happen to have made this current challenge one of the best things that happened to us? So that takes an entirely different viewpoint. It takes an entirely different way of thinking to do that, because instead of seeing this challenge as challenge and crisis, you have to now flip it and say, okay, how is this thing a positive? How can it possibly be a positive? And even in doing that exercises, you started to take control back. You started to say, this is the world as it is, and this is what we can do now to start setting our sails, to adjust to the wind, to adjust our course, to settle up with reality, to make these changes that maybe we've known we needed to make for a while, and we've just been putting them off because there hasn't been anything that really pushed us that hard to make the change. It was, it was workable, and suddenly when things are stressed, things that are kind of workable suddenly become less workable, and now we have the opportunity to change that. So that's the question I would continue to ask, or to look at, whether it's you individually, whether it's you with your team. It's really interesting to do this as a team exercise because everybody's collective perspective shifts, and you'll feel the energy in the room shift. So the question again is, if we look back a year from now on what's happened, and we realized that this was one of the best things that could have happened to us, what would we have need to have done to make it so? And if we can do that, I think you'll find amazing answers await for you, for your business, for yourself, however you want to look at it. So that's the thought for today in these wild times. I would also like to remind that I have an offer, just free coaching, a free coaching session for anybody who needs it in this time of crisis, in this time of challenge. Sometimes it's just good to have a space with another perspective, somebody who's been through this kind of challenge before, and I'm happy to offer that in this time. There's a link in the description. So that's it for today. I may be back later, maybe later today, maybe tomorrow, but we'll continue to keep reaching out and sharing my perspective on things. All right, that's it for now. I'll see you all later.